And a good Thursday to you, Central Georgia. Thanks for tuning in here to your extended forecast. Today is February 5th, and it is an important day. It is actually National Weather Person's Day. So obviously, we are very happy to continue to bring you the weather news each and every day about what's going on more in depth here on our extended forecast or on air on 13 WMAZ. You guys definitely do make our job worth doing each and every day and always putting a smile on our face. So we're extremely thankful for you on this National Weather Person's Day. But it is Thursday and we are heading close into the weekend. Not too much good news as far as today's forecast goes, but like we've continued to talk about as of yesterday and when we were looking ahead to today, they were both going to kind of be the blemishes on your 7-day forecast, and they were going to be very welcome trade-offs in turn about what's going to happen as we go into the weekend, where we will have plenty of sunshine finally in your forecast at long last. But let's go ahead and recap all the rain that we did see as of yesterday. We actually have to go back over the course of 48 hours because we did see the rain start a little bit more than 24 hours ago. So here's a look around Central Georgia, where you can see for the most part everything is engulfed in some sort of blue, maybe a lighter shade of blue in some spots, but maybe a darker shade of blue in some select few spots. Breaking it down piece by piece, let's go into the northern half of Central Georgia. This graphic's always a little bit laggy, so you just have to give it a little bit of patience in order to pop up. Most totals that you do see in the northern half of Central Georgia, anywhere from about 1/4 of an inch all the way up to 3/4 of an inch in areas like Lake Sinclair, all the way in downtown Gray. But if we really focus in on some of these areas with a darker shade of blue, that's going to be mainly around here in Bibb, Twiggs, and maybe even southern Jones County. Take a look at this. We don't even see any shades of that green color, but we do have some totals maybe up around the Arkwright Drive area, Rivers Crossing, that you are seeing about over an inch of rain that we did record in the North Macon area. Downtown Macon here close to the station, just over about 3/4 of an inch. Just about 3/4 of an inch once again over there in between Lake Tobosoffke and Lizella. Down in Rutland, also 0.8 inches. And then 0.8 inches right here just to the southeast of Dry Branch, just shy of an inch in northern Twiggs County. And as you get closer and closer to our Jeffersonville radar, about an inch in total of some rainfall. But specifically at Middle Georgia Regional Airport, we are going to zoom in down here to South Bibb County because this is where we take our observations. Keep this number in mind because we are having some issues with our almanac data as of this Thursday morning. So I would say roughly around 1/2 inch of rain, maybe even a little bit more than this. This is just radar indicated rainfall totals. So this is just what the radar beams are picking up. In reality, we could see a little bit more or we could see a little bit less. So we are going to await the data from Middle Georgia Regional Airport, but we definitely did get some rain at the airport, and that's what I wanted to emphasize to you because you will see no rainfall recorded at the airport when I pop up the almanac data just a little bit later. And down in South Central Georgia, you can see some totals that are more so closer to around 1/4 of an inch of rain, especially down in South and Southeast Central Georgia. We didn't see too much in the way of accumulation, even some very light shades of blue in our southernmost counties, but everyone at least saw a little bit of a drizzle. It does look like once you get up in the Houston County, maybe the Perry area, probably the closest tally that we can find to around an inch in nature, about 1/2 inch of rain in Warner Robins. And then the farther and farther south that you go down, looks like 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4 inches of rain are pretty popular numbers. So nothing really too substantial in the way of rain. And we did get a new update to your drought monitor. We didn't really see anything in the way of change. Most of Central Georgia finds themselves in a severe drought. Northernmost counties do find themselves in a moderate drought, and we see patches of an extreme drought over to the west of us, down to the southeast of us. And we also see another area of it just up behind the banner here, where we can see portions of a severe drought clipping the northeastern sector of Hancock County right here. So very thankfully, we didn't see conditions get worse. However, we are looking to get some improvement on this drought monitor. We continue to really need some rain here in Central Georgia, and we are entering the time of year where we are going to get more rainmakers more frequently as we head into the severe weather season here over the next couple of months. So a brief cool down in store for your Thursday. Weekend is still looking absolutely awesome. Maybe a little bit on the cooler side. We have seen some changes with your weekend forecast, and we'll go over that in just a moment. But even a bit of a false spring ahead as we go into next week. You're going to be quite surprised at some of the temperatures towards the tail end of your 7-day forecast. So without further ado, we'll walk it around the quad where we continue to see nothing but a gloomy and a gray atmosphere all across Central Georgia. Along with these overcast skies, we are seeing some pretty breezy conditions up here at the Georgia National Fairgrounds, where the winds are blowing from right to left according to these flags. So we have a bit of a northerly component right now with our winds there in West Houston County by I-75. And you will also see maybe some pockets of some darker clouds, which does also mean that we could see some pockets of maybe a light shower or a drizzle within some of the cloud cover that will be present for most of the rest of this morning. But in terms of your visibility, we also do see maybe even some lower level clouds, or maybe even kind of a combination with some mist showers. That's going to be up to the northeast here in central Georgia and over to the east. Really seeing maybe even some patchy areas of some really limited visibility or some dense fog right there on the edge of Johnson County, Jefferson County, and up into Emmanuel County. So that's where we do see some limited visibility, and things are looking a bit clearer as you go back over to the west and down to the south here in central Georgia. So here's a look at your current temperatures. Mid and upper 30s kind of down here in the southeast. Montgomery at 35, 38 in Charleston. Going down to Florida, you see some 40s and some 50s. Low and mid 50s down in southern Texas, even a 52 up in Dallas. And actually seeing this green color, it is a bit patchy and a bit splotchy, but over to the east of the Rocky Mountains, it finally looks like a pretty warm environment in areas like, say, eastern Colorado, getting up into Kansas, up into Nebraska. Still seeing this very frigid cold air mass just to the north of us, 24 in Nashville, 15 in Lexington, 17 up in Indianapolis, and those colors continue to even have a bit of a pink or a purple shade to them up in Ohio. I can't imagine the numbers are probably flirting with the single digits up there as of right now. Your current temperatures here in the southeast, seeing maybe 1 or 2 upper 20s in areas like Huntsville, getting back up into southern Tennessee. Those are going to transition into some 30s and eventually some 40s as you continue to go down to the south and the southeast. 41 in Vidalia, 37 here in Macon. Pretty similar number to what we see in Columbus. Exactly right in the smack dab middle of Columbus and Augusta's temperatures at 36 and 38 degrees. So here in central Georgia specifically, the lowest number that we spot is 36 degrees because this is going to be important. Go ahead and keep that number in the back of your head because obviously this could have some implications with your forecast for what the last couple of model runs of Future View have tried to show. We'll talk about that more specifically coming up in just a minute, but mainly a story of the upper 30s for your actual temperatures. In Vidalia, I don't think they have dropped below 41 degrees as of this morning, but it continues to be a chilly environment here as we go well into the late morning hours, really starting to transition into the afternoon time frame. And those numbers are going to be pretty similar to what the morning low values were, hence the impact that our cloud cover continues to have. It's not leading to as substantial of a warm-up as we typically see on a hour-by-hour basis going into each and every afternoon. Winds and wind gusts, a breeze anywhere from as low as 6 miles per hour all the way up to a 13 mile per hour sustained wind in areas like Warner Robins down in Americus. Some occasional gusts up to 14 and 18 miles per hour in Milledgeville and also down in Americus. Where we do have that yellow shade present, that's going to indicate the possibility of some gusty winds, maybe up to 20 miles per hour. But with our temperatures still stuck in the 30s, they do feel a couple degrees colder, mainly still feeling like the low 30s, even the upper 20s in areas like Thomaston and all the way up in Monticello. So we really haven't warmed up too much thanks to the cloud cover that continues to be quite dense all over central Georgia. Here's a look at your satellite and radar imagery. Nothing in the way of precipitation. We'll take a big picture view at the state of Georgia where almost the entire state is engulfed in cloud cover. We actually see the southwesternmost corner getting close down there to the Lake Seminole area, Donaldsonville, Dothan, over in southeast Alabama. That's where we actually do see some clearing in the clouds. But don't worry, we will eventually watch the edge of this cloud cover that goes all the way over into eastern Alabama. That is going to steadily recede back over to the east. So eventually Columbus will see their fair share of some sunny skies. Areas to the west of Taylor County in between Butler and Columbus will see some sunny skies, and westernmost areas here in central Georgia will see some clearing a little bit earlier than areas over to the east. So here's a look at the northeast corner of the state because we actually have gotten reports of some flurry showers up in the metro Atlanta area this morning, areas of northern Georgia where you will see some splotchy areas and maybe some white or some gray and even a bit of a wintry mix indicated right here around the Greenville area up I-85 into upstate South Carolina. Our air isn't quite as cold as it is up in these locations, so that's why they continue to have something of the winter weather variety, but it's not leading to really any impacts. It's just more of a couple flurries that are trying to leave a trace accumulation, maybe a few patchy areas of some white on some surfaces, but not going to have any impacts. And I don't anticipate our temperatures to be cold enough to produce anything in the way of that, because our lowest number already 36 degrees, and we are looking at those numbers to get warmer into the afternoon, even though they have been very slow to warm up so far. So here's what I mean by yesterday's almanac. The graphic is not really working the best. We have no recorded morning low for yesterday. 55, I think, was the high temperature yesterday, but what you need to know is we were somewhere in the mid to maybe the upper 50s. We didn't warm up too much from what the temperature started out at, somewhere in the low 50s yesterday morning. But I do have confidence that it was below average. I don't think we saw anywhere near the 60-degree mark for a high temperature yesterday in light of the very dreary atmosphere that we had. 37 for a morning low. I definitely think we were well above that with the current temperatures yesterday morning, somewhere around 50, 51, maybe even around 53 or 54 degrees. So 81 for a record high, that was actually set back last year. 81 degrees for a high temperature in 2025. 1970, 13 degrees was your morning low. No precipitation recorded yesterday according to this, but like I just showed you, we did see about a ½ inch of rain recorded at the very least at Middle Georgia Regional Airport. So I imagine it would put that year departure number maybe back close to around 2 inches below where we should be, as opposed to just over 2.5 where we are hovering right now. We'll see if we can do some tinkering with all that and inform the National Weather Service, and maybe they just need to do some maintenance on our sensors over there at our observation station down at Middle Georgia Regional Airport. 7:27, the sunrise time yesterday. 6:10 was the sunset time. I believe I said those correctly. Always get those two mixed up, even though I'm reading exactly what I'm saying right there. But let's circle back to yesterday, where 55, might even have to put a bit of an asterisk on here, but I am confident that we did see our third below average day of the month of February. So most days, 75% of them so far in February have been below average. The one exception was Tuesday afternoon, where we did have some very pleasant feeling temperatures, say in the low 60s. Today, going to add another tally to that below average count that we do have for the month of February. Gloomy and chilly, maybe a few sprinkle showers. Haven't really seen any of those come to fruition, but there is maybe still a sufficient amount of moisture to sprout a brief mist or even a very light shower that's not even popping up on your satellite and radar imagery. So that's why we threw a 10% chance of rain on today, but mostly cloudy atmosphere. We won't see any sunshine until we get later on into the afternoon. I'll show you the timing of that as we go into future view. But 49 degrees, when you pair that number up with, say, a northwesterly wind of about 5 to maybe 15 miles per hour, the occasional gusts up to 20 miles per hour, 49 is going to feel a good deal colder than what the actual temperature says. And that's already a pretty chilly afternoon, even by winter standards, because average high 61 degrees. We're already 12 degrees below that average high temperature. Well, when you do factor in the winds, then obviously those numbers are going to feel a good deal cooler than that as well. So we do eventually warm up, and I think it's really not going to take place until we get into the tail end of that warmest sector of the afternoon, because that's when we'll finally start to get at least a little bit more sunshine in your forecast. Then the numbers will drop back down as we go past sunset, closer to around 6 p.m. But here's what it's actually going to feel like through the rest of today. It does look like the window of at least seeing some feels like numbers at 40 degrees has extended from maybe 3 p.m. as late as around 7 p.m. You should plan on most of the afternoon to feel like the upper 30s or the low 40s. It is going to be quite chilly. Whatever layers that you wore as you made your way out the door this morning, you are going to need to continue to have them on throughout the afternoon and into the evening, where we are looking at the numbers to cool down. That's something that we're not going to get rid of. We are going to have our fair share of some pretty chilly starts to the next couple of days, already feeling like the upper 20s as we go into the midnight hour later on tonight. So let's take a look at our surface map. What has been going on specifically with this forecast? Well, I don't have any cloud cover on this surface map, but what you can see is the frontal boundary that we had present yesterday has passed through. So what that is doing is ushering in a slightly cooler air mass from the north and the northwest. High pressure really starting to settle in and dominate our forecast here in the east and the southeast United States. But while we continue to have some cloud cover and maybe even a few sprinkles and some of those wintry weather showers that we can see along the Appalachian Mountains into upstate South Carolina and portions of western North Carolina, is courtesy of this guy right here. Remember, we were talking about this low pressure center as of yesterday. It established itself along this frontal boundary. Well, that counterclockwise rotation is continuing to maybe send a couple of areas of some moisture over here down into the southeast United States. So typically when you have a cold front that just sweeps through, you don't have a center of low pressure attached to it. It just ushers in a cooler and a drier air mass. But there is moisture still associated with the center of low pressure, and it's still sending some on the backside of the system in the form of cloud cover and maybe even a few very light shower chances. But once again, it's winter weather variety farther up to the north where it is still a little bit colder, and down here in central Georgia, it's just going to be of the sprinkle shower variety, which you can see future view picking up on as we go throughout the rest of this afternoon. A couple of light green dots. You might even spot a white dot or maybe even a shade of some purple or some white up to the northeast of us, but none of that comes to fruition here in central Georgia. We actually had a really good cluster of some flurries in between Hancock County and Augusta as of the model run this morning, but every time it popped up, I said don't go believing that because our temperatures are going to be far too warm for that to occur. So going into 6 p.m., this is an important time because this is sunset time. Well, I guess 10 minutes past 6 p.m. in the afternoon into the evening. The sun will be setting in the west. That's where we get clearing in the cloud cover. We're still holding on to some clouds farther over to the east and the southeast, closer to that center of low pressure. But I do believe that the later and the farther along we go into the afternoon, we'll finally get some peaks of sunshine. And we are not going to stop there for quite a while. We are going to walk out the door to plenty of sunny skies tomorrow morning. And then as we go into tomorrow afternoon, nothing but sunshine. But you will see something of note right here, and that's going to be in the form of these wind arrows, a lot longer and a lot more yellow in color. So we are going to have a very breezy afternoon for you, not only your Friday, but also continuing into Saturday. The breeze will subside just a little bit, but we are looking at the breeze to be a factor throughout both Friday and Saturday. And I think finally by the time we go into Sunday, it does subside just a little bit into the early morning hours. But no rain to talk about. There's some passing clouds to the north of us, so maybe not completely crystal clear sunny skies, but overall it is going to be a forecast dominated by sunshine. Quite the opposite of what we've seen over the past 3 weekends where we've been talking about a weather impact alert, potential winter weather impacts. None of those are going to be the case throughout your weekend ahead. But in terms of how gusty will those winds be throughout today, I think it's mainly south and southwest central Georgia. You guys will have the potential to maybe see a gust up to 20 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit faster than that. But going into tomorrow morning, we still hold on to a bit of a light breeze, maybe a gust up to 15, 17 miles per hour. Paired up with the temperatures we'll see, it will once again be an environment that is going to feel a little bit colder than what the actual temperatures do read. And then starting around 11 a.m., 10 to 11 a.m., maybe even getting as late as the lunchtime hour, that's when we start to notice an uptick in the winds, and they're going to kind of reach their peak as we go into around 4 and 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So that's going to be right around evening commute home time. These winds are going to be blowing out of the west. If you're going up or down I-75, you are going to notice those gusty winds probably blowing you around a little bit in your lane as you are making your way home. So keep those hands steady on 10 and 2, and obviously it can sway you around a little bit in the lanes when we do have some gusts coming at you sideways, especially even potentially up to 30 miles per hour. And for any Friday evening and nighttime plans, it still looks like it's going to be a breezy environment, especially in areas farther to the north. Some gusts all the way up to 30 miles per hour still lingering in the Atlanta area. Going into Saturday morning is once again a breezy start, and that will also translate to your feels like temperatures being a little bit lower once again. Slight breeze throughout Saturday afternoon, but not quite as gusty as what we see on Friday. And then finally the breeze does subside as we go early into Sunday morning. So for the rest of today, we'll kind of have two different areas, and actually this darker blue shade in central Georgia, that's going to indicate where the cloud cover is still remaining present. In areas that do see the clearing later on this afternoon over to the west, it does feel a little bit warmer. So that's why we see feels like numbers around 42 and 46 in areas like Macon and Columbus, as opposed to that 35 in Dublin where the cloud cover is still remaining present until we get closer to sunset time. Then tomorrow morning, feels like numbers say in the mid-20s. Wouldn't even be surprised if we saw some down in the lower 20s or closer to the 20-degree mark. But even though we will have gusty winds in the forecast tomorrow afternoon, temperatures are going to be well too warm for that to impact it. How about this? Feels like numbers at 60 degrees tomorrow afternoon. That paired up with some pretty breezy conditions, not going to be the most ideal environment. I mean, we're not talking about maybe a light breeze, maybe a temperature of 75, nice and sunny skies like we would see in the spring, but this is going to be very good, especially by recent stretches of weather standards and wintertime weather standards. Then we go into the overnight and early morning hours on Saturday. That's when we start to see the feels like numbers once again below freezing temperature. It's going to be a mighty chilly environment to walk outside to on Saturday morning. And then Saturday afternoon, we are also seeing maybe a bit of a cool down. Feels like numbers in the mid 50s as opposed to near 60, which we do see on Friday. And once again, as we go overnight into early Sunday morning, as you make your way out the door heading out to church on Sunday morning, you are going to want to make sure to bundle up with some temperatures once again scattered about the 20s in terms of what it feels like. So over the next 3 days, today it continues to be that one blemish, and we are going to see maybe a little bit of sunshine during the tail end hours of daylight this afternoon. 49 feels more like the low 40s throughout this afternoon. 10% chance of kind of a mist or a drizzle shower throughout today. Then we clear out. No more rain chances Friday and Saturday as we roll into the weekend. High temperatures pretty close to average or maybe just below average. So I was referring to it a little bit earlier in the stream. That's kind of the one change we've seen over the course of this weekend. Models are now predicting some slightly cooler numbers. Overall, I'll take a sunny environment in the upper 50s as opposed to cloudy, windy, and feels like numbers in the lower 40s that we do have for today. So going to be very pleasant for both Friday and Saturday afternoons. May need some form of light layering, especially with the gusty winds that you could see on occasion. But overall, it's a story of some cold starts and some pretty pleasant afternoons that we do have for both Friday and Saturday. And go ahead and copy and paste that forecast for your Saturday into Sunday, where we have a high temperature of 58. And then we do see a pretty drastic warm up as we go in between Sunday all the way into Monday. How about 68 for a high temperature? That would be the warmest number that we have seen since sometime early in January, which is kind of crazy to think because January, you wouldn't think that you would have high temperatures in the upper 60s, but it is looking like we are settling in to a much warmer forecast as we go into the beginning of next week. Morning lows just bouncing around from, say, the low 30s, the upper 20s, back into the lower half of the 30s, back into the upper half of the 20s, and then we get into another morning starting out at 33 degrees on Monday morning. Each and every day is going to start out below average, and if you do have a breeze present, it's very likely these numbers feel a little bit colder, so make sure that you do have the layers ready to go as you are walking out the door each of the next 5 days. In terms of what to expect towards the end of the weekend, maybe a slight increase in cloud cover to the north of us mainly as we go into Sunday afternoon and evening. But Sunday at 6 p.m., that is an important timestamp. This is going to be when the Super Bowl is getting started, and it looks like it is going to be a great forecast for maybe even some outdoor watch parties. But just note, as you go farther and farther past sunset, those numbers are going to drop down quite quickly. If you have any outdoor watch parties, you're probably going to want to maybe have some firewood ready to go and have something for a little bit of warmth if you do plan on sitting outside for an extended period of time, maybe watching the big game on a big outdoor projector. Going into Monday, looks like we still have our fair share of cloud cover in the sky, but nothing that results in anything in the way of rain. Tuesday afternoon, starting to see some signs of moisture trying to organize or take shape over to the west. And then I would go ahead and bookmark next Wednesday and all the way into next Thursday. That's looking like our next best chance for seeing some rain. Overall, the models are not agreeing whatsoever right now. So if you were to ask me, if you saw me in the grocery store, Alex, when's our next chance of rain going to be? I would just say Wednesday and Thursday. I can't even pick apart a time right now because the models are showing rain popping up at just about every portion of Thursday morning, maybe Thursday afternoon, all the way into Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. So I would just plan on the midweek next week, kind of very similar to when our rain chances popped up this past week as of yesterday. It looks like a week apart from that, we are going to welcome in at least maybe some spotty shower chances. This is actually where we see the most agreement going into next Thursday at 4 p.m. and it's still looking rather splotchy right now. So we'll continue to cross that bridge once we get there. Nothing to really worry about of immediate concern as of right now. So your 7-day forecast gets a whole lot better, especially as we go into the beginning of next week. 49 for a high temperature today. Once again, that feels like the low 40s and a 10% chance of rain to cover the bases for any areas that see a mist or even a brief drizzle shower in light of the overcast skies that continue to engulf much of the southeast. Then we will clear out as we go into the tail end of today, an occasional peak of sunshine right there around sunset at 6 o'clock this evening. Then 61 for a high temperature Friday afternoon, 57 and 58 both Saturday and Sunday. We will have some breezy conditions both Friday and Saturday, but overall it's going to be a very pleasant feeling afternoon. The afternoon is definitely the time window that you do want to spend your time outdoors, as opposed to the morning hours where we are going to have numbers that are bouncing around below freezing, maybe just slightly above freezing. But if you have breezy conditions, those numbers are once again very likely to feel even colder. But why stop at 68 on Monday? How about this? 71 for a high temperature not only on Tuesday, we liked it so much we did it twice. 71 for a high temperature on Wednesday as well. And then that next chance of rain going to arrive sometime in the midweek next week. But hey, it's anyone's best guess as of right now. I would just plan on maybe having the rain jacket ready to go once we get into the midweek next week. But overall, 70s in the forecast. That is going to be quite a pleasant change of pace compared to the very frigid stretch of weather that we've had as of recently. So it does look like we are not going along according to what the groundhog did predict. So go ahead and take that, General Beauregard Lee. It looks like we are going to get a stretch of at least some fall spring weather as we go into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next week. But as soon as I say that, I guess I better knock on some form of wood. I don't know if this drywall right here is some wood, but it does look like we might have some signs of another major cool down in store in your very extended forecast. There's a lot going on in the extended portion of the forecast well past the next 7 days. And right now, once again, it's kind of anyone's best guess about what is going to specifically happen. But if we do have warmer temperatures in the forecast, it is important to note that that means that we are going to have more surface heating throughout the day. Warmer temperatures typically result in more moisture in the forecast, and that could lead to maybe even a premature start to a little bit of your severe weather season. So hopefully we don't see any signs of that, but we are looking to finally thaw out after this very frigid stretch of weather as we get into the beginning of next week. Soak up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons while they do last before maybe we welcome in some more rain chances as we go into the end of the work week next week, which I'm sure a lot of you will have your eyes on, given that Valentine's Day is going to be on Saturday. Definitely don't want any rain chances to rain on any dinner reservations that you do have, but we'll worry about that once we get there. There's a lot to look forward to with your 7-day forecast. We'll let you know as soon as we have a good idea about anything past the next 7 days. But right now, it's kind of smooth sailing in the weather department. Going to be a very pleasant weekend forecast, especially by wintertime standards. A little bit chilly, maybe a little bit below average, both Saturday and Sunday afternoons. But if that's too cold for your liking, once again, we are going to see a pretty drastic warm up into the beginning of next week and give us a bit of a taste of the spring season that is to come once we get sometime in the middle and into the late portion of March. So that'll do it for your extended forecast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you back here at 11 a.m. tomorrow for another look at what's ahead.